Second cuppa of the day. I've been up since 6 AM, which is sunrise, because today is the first working day of the new project at the house. So the most important thing for me today, which I've already done, is to stock the fridge up with Shang, because as is the tradition here in this village anyway, when the lads finish for the day, we provide them with a beer and they talk over the day's events and the plans for tomorrow. Let's take this cup of tea outside and show you what I've been up to. Right, tea's on the garden table. So, I've been out here since about 6:30. It's about 7 o'clock now. Digging out this pipe, because it's got to be moved, because we need to put a pad in for one of the posts, sort of opposite that post there. So it's going to be somewhere around here. So the pipe's in the way of that. I don't want them to concrete over the pipe just in case it causes it a problem with it moving and rubbing, and if there is a problem with it, we're going to have to mess about cutting it off both sides and relaying it anyway around the pad. So I'd rather move it now. And similarly at this end, there's going to be a post probably just on the inside of that one, because that one is actually, where's my finger pointing? That one is actually on the slope, so we can't really mount a post against that and bolt it to it because it's actually on the slope, so it's not going to sit well. So we'll put that post next to the other one and maybe just bolt it to the top beam there, as well as obviously bolting it to the floor. But we need to put a pad here in this corner. So I've exposed that pipe and it's actually going to be quite easy. I need to buy some glue, but all I need are a couple of straight joints. I've worked out. I've been thinking about it a little bit, and gradually the number of joints I need has been reduced to just these two, because all I want to do is, all I need to do is create that bend further that way. And to do that is actually very simple, because all I have to do is cut this pipe off somewhere here, because that space there will be big enough for the pad, I think. Yeah, it should be. Anyway, we can always bend this pipe out slightly. So maybe I'll cut it off. Maybe I'll cut it off here, out of the way really. Cut it off down here somewhere, like there, and then just flip that whole length of pipe over, really. Just turn it over both ways. Just turn it over forwards from where we're standing now, and then from right to left or left to right, and it will create exactly the same shape, because it will just come here, go out there, and then go along. And because it's quite a length of pipe and it's quite flexible, I can just make sure that it comes out a little bit further from the edge here to give them plenty of room to do their pad. And I think that should work very nicely. I don't really need to worry about doing any other joints. Yeah, so that's going to be my job. I just need to go to the local shop and buy some glue, and I'll sort that out so it's done for them, because the pipe's going to go nowhere else. It's basically got to follow that route as close as it can go to the poo hole. So yeah, I'll get that done. As an aside to this building work, I'm very pleased to say that we've got some birds nesting in the corner of the garage here. Literally in the last week in my absence, this nest has appeared, and I've seen a couple of birds fly out of here this morning when I came in here to sweep up. And I don't know if I can see. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're still constructing it or what, but I know it wasn't there a week ago because I cleaned this garage before I went away for a few days. And I love birds, so I'm very happy to have them nesting in here. I don't care if they make a little bit of a mess with their droppings or indeed their bits of nesting material. We've also got sparrows nesting up in cracks in the roof, in this roof here. And I think a little bit along here. And we've had a couple of what are known as blackbirds here. There you go, you can just see he's just flown off. They're nesting right up in the corner, just there. And they've been nesting there for 2 years, ever since the house was built. They came along literally 2 or 3 months after we finished the house, and they've been there ever since, having a couple of broods a year. I'm quite happy to leave them be. They're not doing any damage to anything. So yes, it's turning into a little bit of a nature reserve here. We've got the big gecko that lives in the garage. There's evidence of snakes here because we keep finding snake skins hanging off the garage roof, and I've seen them in here before, as I've shown you in previous videos a couple of years ago. I'm very happy with all that. What I don't want are cats and dogs, really. Right, that's the wildlife update. Right, so I've cut the pipes, I've capped the ends just to keep the dirt out, and the theory is that's the theory. You just turn the pipe round like that and you just need 2 joints. So we'll see how that works in reality once they've done the concreting. Yeah, so we've had a little discussion about where to put this post over here because you can't really attach it to the upright existing one. It doesn't really matter if it's inset a bit because there's going to be a bit of an overhang on the roof anyway. It really doesn't matter. Having it here about, I don't know, ½ a metre from that post, it can still be attached to this upright, and also it lines up quite nicely with where they can put a fresh pad on this side, because there's a bit of a lump of concrete at the end of this wall here. You can see that bit there, so that doesn't lend itself to being used really for a base, because any concrete that's put around it will be sort of separate. So yeah, putting the new pad just here and lining the other post up accordingly, I think is the better option. None of this is really very structural because it's only holding a roof up, as I mentioned in the last video. He's moving it again. I don't know why he's moving it again, but I'll explain it to him. So we have an understanding now, with a bit of help from Google, Mr. Google. So they're going to put quite a large pad in where that piece of metal sticking up, where we've marked on the ground here. That'll allow us to get the blue pipe just beyond it, and we'll make the blue pipe. I'll fix the blue pipe later. I might have to put another couple of bends in, to be honest, because it's coming out a bit further than I'd hoped, the pad, but that's not really a big issue. We might get away with just angling the pipes, but that'll mean they're stressed, so I might just go and buy a couple of extra joints to make it work a little better. I know joints sort of, right angle joints reduce the water pressure effectively, because the water's bashing around those joints and it's not flowing straight. But it's, that pipe's only feeding the tap near the gate, so it's only used for watering the plants nearby and for washing feet. So I'm not really worried about having extra bends in the pipe. These are the guys that built our house. There were, if I recall, there were actually 4 guys on that job, but these were the main 2, and then they just got 2 others to help them. They also built the extension, and they've helped build parts of the cowshed, and they refurbished the old house as well. So they're very reliable. They know what they have to do. So the only thing that I need to discuss with them in reality is the position of posts and something that they're probably not quite used to, which is fixing the posts to the wall over there, fixing the posts to the upright there and the horizontal beams, just for extra stability really. So they need to mount the posts so they can do that. They need to be close enough to the wall so they can do that. So apart from the positioning of the posts, I can pretty much leave them to it. The only thing I've got to try and explain is about fixing this end to the garage itself, to the cross beams at the top there, so I might have to just have a quick conversation to make sure they understand my intentions there. Right, so what he's actually saying, because I asked him about removing this white board here, and he said no when he read my translation. So what he wants to do is he wants to attach a beam hanging down. No. Yeah, he wants to attach a beam hanging down from the existing roof and then attach a beam across. So that will mean that they can support the beam across there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times if they want. At least 5 times. Yes, so we have he's literally just confirmed what I just said to you on the video directly afterwards. And he actually counted in English when I said you come down from like another beam, and he said yes. And he said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there you go. So we're going to have 7 hanging supports for this end of the roof. Yeah, that'll be fine. That'll be fine. It's going to basically use the weight of the roof that's already there as an anchor, effectively. because any weight on that on this edge of the garage roof will tend to pull it downwards, but the whole of that roof will be weighing that down and stopping it from going down any further. So that'll be fine. I can't see a problem with that. Whether it's easier than just taking the boards off and running a beam across, I don't know, but I think it's a question of having something to fix their cross beams to at one end adequately, and beams at the end of anything don't really have any depth, do they? So it's more difficult to attach things to the top of them. And this way they're basically going to have an overlap to work with. You'll see as it goes along if I'm not making any sense. Right, so obviously we're waiting on a delivery of materials from the shop. They were ordered yesterday, which was a Sunday. So they promised delivery today, but how quick that'll happen we don't know. But at least they can do whatever preparation they can do, measuring, and they'll be ready to go as soon as the materials turn up, and I'll have to move my car at that point. Now we've got 4 people on the job now, although you can only see one because the other 3 have gone off to get supplies, because we're not relying on the delivery, because the timing of it won't be appropriate for us. So one of the guys is going to go and get it in his van, his pickup. This guy's making the steel that's going to go in the pad. He's not wearing any protective gear at all, no gloves or anything on his eyes, but there you go, that's Thailand for you. I've moved my car outside now, hopefully far enough from the welding activity not to get any bits dropping on it. Well, supplies have arrived, although I think this is a partial load because there are no big posts. Ah, the big post was hidden by the other pieces of metal. There it is. Although there's only one of them, so I'm not quite sure what their plan is. That one would be cut in half, perhaps, but oh well, we'll see how it develops. Okay, they've decided that we don't need a post in the middle, which I thought they might want to put in. So I was thinking they would have one here and there, but they seem to think they don't need it. I suspect I know why now, because we're insetting these posts a little bit from the actual line of where the roof needs to go, because of where the slope is really, and the end of this wall here makes it awkward to fix. So they're insetting the posts a bit, and they're also not taking the fixings for this end right up to the edge of the garage. They're actually going to be hanging the fixings from the beams. So the actual gap between effectively each fixing is going to be only about 4 meters. So I'm thinking that's why they think the middle post isn't actually necessary. They can support it all. without bothering. So that's okay, that's fine. Like I say, they know what they're doing. They've built many structures and they work out the size of the posts that they need and the size of the beams and the pieces of metal here that they've ordered. They work it all out depending on the size of the construction. And they have a good discussion between them. So I'm quite happy to let them get on with it. Obviously we haven't got any structural engineering drawings. Sorry, I was just looking at the guy trying to turn the water on. Of course, I turned the water off, so I know what I've got to do now. Yes, I suddenly realised they're going to need some water to mix their cement, and I've turned the water off this side of the property for the garage and everything because I've cut the pipe and haven't refitted it yet because I want them to do their basically finish their building here before I fit the pipe around whatever pad they end up laying. So what I've done is I've just basically hammered a stop end onto that pipe. I haven't glued it. I've just hammered it on so it's quite tight, and I've just turned the water on to a very slight pressure in this line, and the cap held. So I've left it partially on because that would just be enough water for them to mix their cement. But what I've done is I've just hammered a couple of pieces of iron into the ground in front of the pipe, in front of the cap, so that if it starts to work loose, it's going to come up against some resistance from this piece of iron, and this piece of iron will keep it from coming sideways, and then the cap popping off. So that should just give us enough security for the next day while they're needing to mix cement and concrete. And then I can turn the water off again. So I've just pinged a line across all the beams so they know where to mount their metals. Yeah, I think they just went and got some sand from the farm. There's some sand over in a pile. Either that or they just went into the forest, got some from there. Just at the edge of the national park, it's all sand like that. So people just go and help themselves. Bit of a wet mix. It'll be fine. I'm thinking they've made this plate here. I suspect that's the bottom of it. So what I anticipate happening is that will go into the concrete like that and sink in, and that will be held in place then. They'll probably put it in when it's gone off a little bit, I suspect, so that it sticks up slightly, or that the plate is on the surface. It's very hot here, and I know a lot of the time people comment that the concrete they use in this country is far too wet. But a lot of that moisture will get sucked out of that mix pretty quickly because they're laying directly onto earth, and the evaporation rate will be huge. So although concrete sets as a chemical reaction, a lot of the moisture will disappear whilst it's setting, so effectively it would be, I believe, the equivalent of a much drier mix in the Western world in cooler climates. I know some people just say that's a lot of rubbish, it's just going to be weak, but they always make it like this, and there never seems to be a problem. I think they're doing this in 2 bits, which is why they haven't pulled it up to the level of the driveway yet. I think the next bit will be, I don't know, maybe it'll be allowed to go off for a little bit, and then they pull the second lot over the top and put that plate in. Right, so meanwhile on the roof, pretty much got their first 2 supporting beams in. And they're getting bolted in 4 places, it looks like. So that should be very strong. They've got a line now along the edge of the garage, so they can work out the correct positioning of the post so it's in line with the garage rather than the driveway. It just so happens that when the garage was built, it's not quite square to the front of the house, I don't think. Sorry, the front of the plot.
Rồi giúp đi, hay sống chúng ta. Giúp đi.
They're going to need a level there, aren't they? But if they've got a small level, I'll go and get mine. It's a small one.
Bàn.
Got it right first time. I gave them my level to check it, and they didn't even need to push it down anywhere. So you can see that looks a bit skew-if compared to the driveway. But actually it's the driveway that's skew-if because, as I was saying, the garage was put in the corner of the plot, which wasn't quite square, and then we laid the driveway really according to how we built the gate, the entrance to the gate, as it were. I mean, this is not a square plot. In theory it should be, but it's not. So we've ended up with the driveway going into the garage at not a square angle, which obviously we don't notice when we're coming in and out of here, and it doesn't matter anyway. But then when you start building stuff that you want to line up with the garage, this is when you realise that the driveway's slightly out, as it were. So that supporting post is actually going to be off the driveway, which is fine. It doesn't matter. Yes, I think I was saying earlier on, we're not working to any engineering drawings here, as per usual. Then I got distracted. I just yesterday just had the idea that we should get one of these canopies built in front of the garage. So I mentioned it by message to Suntaray, who's actually down in Hat Yai in southern Thailand at the moment working, and she agreed with me, and she said have a word with the lads. So I got a bit of paper and I literally drew an outline of the roof with some measurements on it and wrote in Thai, copying from Google, sort of what I wanted, and then I went to see them, and they've taken it from there really. And the roof isn't going to be very heavy. Certainly the roof panels themselves are going to be very light because it's just going to be thin tin. It's not going to be insulated, which adds a little bit of weight to it. The only thing that the posts and the fixings and the massive cross members across the 6.5 metre width have got to support is the the only weight that they've got to support is the actual frame of the roof, the framing of the roof, which obviously is all that steel down there. So it is a weight, but that's all it is. There isn't anything going on top of the roof. There's no building. There's no extra weight from parts of the building, the interior of it, or anything like that. So yes, I'm trusting them to build it strong enough, but as I said before, they've done lots of these and they work it all out in their minds really, what size steels they need. So I believe what they're doing now is they're extending each 6 metre piece of metal, so it will fit across the width which they're now measuring and getting the line for. The supports attached to the garage are coming along nicely. Only got a couple more of those to do. Okay, well I think we're getting close to the lunch hour, and they've just about finished the beam that's going across the front of the garage. Yes, that's good. That's looking good. So they've cut the posts to length and they've welded a sheet on the bottom. Or maybe that's the top. Who knows? The plate here is on. It's in. Plate over there is in, and they're starting to weld up the cross beams. Okay, so that plate's actually been set how it is going to be. They're not going to put any more concrete in there. It's set 3 centimetres below the level of the driveway for some reason. Possibly because they feel that I want to rake the stones back over so that it looks like the post is just going into the stones. I'll repeat that, possibly because they feel I want to rake the stones back so that it looks like the post is just going into the stones and all that concrete pad is covered up, which is great because that will certainly look a little bit better than it would have done otherwise. Right, we're almost at the end of the day now, but they've managed to finish that cross member. Well, I think they finished it, unless they're going to do diagonals now. And the ends are offset at the moment, so I don't know if they're going to add a bit to each end. I think that's what they're going to do actually, so that the welds are on different pieces at different ends. Right, looks like they're going to aim to get these 2 posts up before the end of the day. And it's the top that's got the cap on it that's been welded on. So I'm beginning to understand what they might be going to do here. I think they might be going to rest the top of the crossbeam on the top of the posts and then weld the bottom one to the side of it, something like that. We will see. I'm not very good at guessing what these guys do. I often get it wrong. One thing they do, which when you start to stay in Thailand and do building works or experience some of the building works, you get the impression that they never use spirit levels. They do everything by eye, but actually they're always using spirit levels, and they're always taking levels with their tube of water, and they measure incessantly. Well, these guys do anyway, in our village. I think we're very lucky to have them, frankly, because you know, they're casual labour really. They're not professional. They're not a professional building company. See, they're talking about now. They're talking about measurements and squareness and all sorts of things here, I think. Yeah, they're going to check now that that's in line with the garage, I think. It's got his little bit of fishing twine.
Từ mình nhau từ đây cái đây, từ mình đi thả thương rồi nó, từ lá nó tạt thầm như thế, từ mình thả lá đây cái đây, nó lấy bông, đẹp xinh này, đấy, ao này có đấy, lọt nam bên đây này, đây đây mình để, đẹp mình để ra này con.
So they've got my little green spirit level on the side there, and they've also got another one of their own, which is magnetic.
Con. Được con này gì con? Đó, đưa đây. Đưa ra lại. Đưa đây. Ở đây. Kiểm đây. Đó như lần đấy. Con. Gì đây? Tem muốn gì vậy? Tem muốn gì vậy? Đây rất quên rồi. Kinh gì? เต็มจากนี้ไปเลยจากนี้ทั้งนี้เน็ตนี่แหละแต่ไม่อ๋อ
Good, that post is set.
Gọi đây. Con ngói thì xinh. Con ngói thì xinh. Bắt nữa. Làm. Con ngói thì xinh rồi thì 6 mét 51. Thấy không? Bắt nữa. Bắt cọp cho tôi làm ha. Tôi làm đây nè, tôi làm. 4 mét 56 mét 2 mét 1
6 meters 57, I heard him say. I think they've set the posts. I think they're taking the final measurements for the cross beam, so they can weld a piece on. And cut it to size exactly. Well, it must be late. Next door's buffaloes are coming home. Farm life carries on directly outside our gate. It's ready, cub. Right. Looks like they're going for a fitting. So they're batting that one up, right up the edge, and now they're going to work out what they've got to do at that end to finish it off, I think.
Mày đặt thế, mày đặt tôi thì vẫn có vừa nó pha cứng để phạt những không là trăm năm đầy vũ nó không phạt con đầu tí bó thì người ta là nổ đặt thế nào có đặt đây không có tắn á thì không có đi được nó như này có đi được đường nó kẹt rồi hả đó bó luôn rồi bó trong quầnมันติดเสาป่ะน่ะติดมันจะวัดที่ไหนเท่าไหร่วะคือเท่าไหร่
มาได้อีกหน่อยนึงติดแล้วไม่อีกหน่อยนึง
Đây đây đặt 6 hen nữa. Nó tí thân thiệt vẫn đương. Ủa nó thiệt tí thân thiệt rồi. Nó này. Phải lên đây để hụ, phải lên đây. Lên đây đặt 6 hen nè.
Right, I see what's going on now with the overhangs. I'm trying to second guess things, but they've actually worked it out and discussed it and made this so that the left side overhang is effectively the same as the garage roof overhang. You can see that. And the right side overhang, similarly takes the will take the new roof above the existing wall. as the garage is, so it's not overhanging the neighbour's land. Very sensibly, they've left the last bit of welding work to make sure that they've got the exact measurements, rather than just basically trying to set the posts, having already constructed the cross beam, and then finding that there's a centimetre problem or something like that. So yeah, very sensible.